on the history of your father in World War II, in before and after.
So my father was 1939. He had to go back to the army, and he was captured at the end of 1939 and kept in captivity in the east of Berlin, east part of Berlin, for 5 years actually. During this period, my mother ran the vineyard. She had 2 young children, my 2 older brothers, and so it was what we call the occupied zone, and she had from time to time to leave the house to the German soldier occupying the house, taking the car and other things. So it was really a difficult period, but she was a very strong person, and she could run the vineyard. She was also, her father was still alive, so he helped her for 5 years to maintain the activity of the vineyard. And actually she was the first to acquire a piece of land, a site in Brezé, because she knew that my father was dreaming about this land. And for my father, it was, he said he didn't have a difficult life, but you can imagine what it was to be away from his family for 5 years. He was working in a farm as a worker, and he always said he was correctly treated by these people, and was quite happy to receive from time to time a letter from my mother, and sometimes actually a small pack, eating letters and containing rillettes or pâté, reminding him where he was from. And so when he came back, it was not, for him it was good to see the vineyard was intact. My mother tried to keep the business during the war. It was quite difficult of course, to sell the wine, but she survived. By this time, they had the vineyard, but they had also they were also producing wheat and maize, so it was a little bit more what we call polyculture.
How were your mothers? Did your mother talk about her relationships with the Germans in the area during that time? What was life like for her?
To be honest, I don't know very well. I just remember I was born in the house where the Domaine Guiberteau is still located, and there was a trace de main, a handprint on the wall, and my mother always told me it was a handprint of German, and they just they covered the wall by paper when I was a teenager. So for 10 years I was just watching this print and didn't know exactly what it meant. They never spoke very much about this time. First of all, I was born after the Second War, and they were very much focused on present and future, but not talking so much about the war. I discovered that later on when I could find letters from my mother and my father's exchange during this war. But for me, first of all, I was not very interested. I didn't know that. I'm more curious now. Unfortunately, both passed away. But they never spoke very much. And even my older brother, who during the war, they were really young, 5 and 7 year old. For them, it was the stories I got from them were more about stories of children spying the Germans, listening for a plane that would land in the back of in the field, not too far from the village. It was for them, they lived that as normal kid during the war. They didn't know what a war meant. It was their first experience. So I don't have negative word from my parents about this time. It was difficult. Even my father actually wanted to visit the farm where he was kept as a prisoner, and as a child I went with my parents in the early 60s. We went to Berlin. We passed the famous Checkpoint Charlie with the car inspected by the Vopos and the mirror under the car. I still have this feeling when we had these exams, and we went to the farm, and only the old lady survived because her husband, he was also the mayor of the city, and he was captured by the Russians and never came back. So actually it's I would say, nice story, because they had only one daughter, and my father knew her when she was a little child, and this daughter was living in West Berlin. And after my father could get in contact with these people, this lady and her husband, they came for 5 years harvesting, just for fun.